Welcome back, friends, to PsA Q&A, the series where we answer frequently asked questions from patients who have psoriatic arthritis. Today we're going to talk about fatigue and how to cope with it, some different strategies that might help you deal with and maybe even eradicate the fatigue that you're feeling. Fatigue with psoriatic arthritis is one of the most common symptoms. It can be debilitating and stems from the inflammation that's inside of your body. Often, even when patients are having a response in their joints and their skin to their medications, they're still struggling with fatigue. It's not, I woke up and didn't sleep well. It's not even, I just don't feel quite right. It's more like I just ran a marathon and I had the flu. Along with that fatigue comes brain fog. With brain fog can come loss of words. I would try and express myself and not be able to find the noun I was trying to talk about, which is really frustrating because I have an English degree. So when you can't find words, it's really upsetting. Regardless, I often couldn't remember what I was doing or where I was going, those kinds of symptoms. Strategies for dealing with fatigue can start with medication. Some medications that can be helpful are low-dose naltrexone or stimulant medications for ADHD. Those are sometimes prescribed. I have not used stimulant medication, so I can't speak to that personally. For me, low-dose naltrexone was absolutely like the silver bullet for my fatigue. It took everything out completely, and I was functioning at about 40% most of the time. And once I started low-dose naltrexone, it was like I had my brain back, I had my energy back. I felt almost like a normal human again. In the meantime, because of course you won't have access to any prescriptions without the aid of a doctor, some strategies that I use in order to deal with fatigue starts with things like limiting activity. I have a step counter, like a watch with a step counter. In my case, I set my goal at about 4,000 steps. And then when my watch would go off and be like, yay, you hit your goal, I would know, okay, it's time to stop because I'm going to feel awful. I'm going to feel like I've overdone it if I don't quit right now. And if you're like me, it's very hard to make yourself stop something because often you feel like you're okay in the moment. When you're being active, your body actually feels pretty good and you don't feel wiped out, but later it's gonna be awful. I found that if I could limit my steps, then I would be all right the next day. So find your goal and maybe set something that can help you know it's time to quit. Exercise is often listed as something that can help with fatigue. I found that was an unreachable goal for me when I was struggling with fatigue. Instead, what I did was make it my goal to do just something off the couch every day. I got up and cooked dinner, or I did the dishes, or I put in a load of laundry, or I went and watered the plants. That counted as my exercise, my activity. Because being on the couch all day long, or sitting in your office chair, sitting in your car, then coming home to your couch, is just not good for the inflammation in your body. You need to be able to move a little bit. But try and set realistic goals. I also used a lot of aids to try and function sort of at a normal level. I found that if I used Google Maps in my car, even if I knew where I was going, then it would remind me where I was supposed to turn, what I was supposed to be doing, where I was going. Otherwise, there was a lot of, I missed my turn, I've got to turn around, ending at places late because I got on autopilot and would drive somewhere completely different. Using the scooter at the grocery store feels really embarrassing the first time. Actually, the first time I used a grocery store scooter, I had a broken ankle. So it was very visible that something was wrong with me and I still felt like an idiot. Just do your best to overcome any concerns about judgment. Get on the scooter, it makes a huge difference. If you're not having to walk all those steps around the grocery store. Even better, if you can order for pickup, that's a great option. Or sometimes I would even order for delivery from the grocery store or restaurant or whatever if I felt like driving was just not something I could accomplish that day. I also used a lot of kind of cheats through the grocery store. I would buy prepared meals from the deli, some things that were frozen that could go in easily. salads that were pre-made, rotisserie chicken that could just be pulled apart, things like that, to avoid having to be on my feet a lot and cook, and even having to devote the mental space to what am I gonna make for dinner, because who wants to even think about that when you're not ill? Also, recruit as much help as you can. Family members who can, run up the stairs for you, run an errand, friends who might already be headed to Target or wherever, and can grab you something while they're there. Use the help that's offered to you. I know it's really hard to ask for help, but sometimes just being willing to reach out and ask somebody, hey, next time you're at Costco, could you grab me X and Y and I'll pay you, saved me a lot of energy. The last thing I would mention is sleep hygiene. Sleep itself is not going to get rid of your fatigue, but having poor sleep can make it worse. I found that sometimes my pain was waking me up at night, and that was making things even harder. So I started using just over-the-counter sleep aids. Melatonin, if that works for you, is great. Unisom is great. Sometimes I just take half or even a third of a Unisom. If I take a whole one, I feel like I'm completely hungover the next day, which is kind of what fatigue feels like anyways. It's just doubling my problem. But if I take just a small portion of a Unisom, I wake up and feel pretty normal. Try and keep screen viewing, the phone, out of the bedroom, because if you just use your bedroom for sleep and maybe a little bit of reading before sleep, that helps your body to know, okay, this is the pattern we're in. And then also get up and open up the blinds and the drapes. That little bit of sunlight from a natural source makes a huge difference in your circadian rhythm and can help you to then feel tired when it gets dark and awake again when the sun is up. So the more you can, make sure you get decent sleep and then wake up and get some sunlight, the better off that fatigue will be. Anyway, those are my best tips for helping with fatigue and trying to cope, and maybe even being able to find a medication that will help you get rid of it completely. You have all my best wishes. Good luck. I know fatigue really can make us feel like life is much harder than it needs to be, and you have all my sympathies, as I have been there. If you have any questions, let me know.